So the Tencent Seafront Towers.
Yes.
The idea I've read stated was to merge the best of a suburban office campus with the best of a vertical high-rise. How did that come to be the goal, and how did you execute it?
Yeah, I think suburban office campus is maybe the wrong terminology. It's really
Sure.
a campus.
Sure.
So that could be Harvard, it could be a Google campus, all those ideas of a place where people can really interact easily. I think that was really the goal. And when we talked to the executives originally about the project, that was their goal too, is finding a way to get that character and that opportunity to get people to connect, to innovate, to raise that whole bar of synergy in a high-rise building, which by nature doesn't like to do that. So how could we get that character into the tall building was really the driver. And they were very interested in that idea before we even put a sketch on the paper yet. And that became the kind of the philosophical driver behind a lot of what we looked at when we studied it originally.
What sort of research did you do about how Tencent employees work, and what did you find out, and how did that influence your design?
Yeah, that's also a good question, because we spent time before we started the competition in their building, kind of a day in the life, understanding what they do, what they're all about. We obviously did a lot of online research. We looked at it from different aspects, because our fundamental premise was that the building should be designed from the inside out, meaning that it should reflect the internal brand of the employees, their character, their culture, their dreams, their aspirations, how they work the best. It should also then reflect the brand of Tencent out to the world. Mm-hmm. So how do you do both of those things became the kind of second question we asked ourselves. And I think understanding that helped us capture the spirit of Tencent, at the time at least, of what they're all about, and then allowed us to think about the building as not as a building, but as a communication device almost, a communication experience in a way.
And what are they about? I mean, what was your impression of it? Because Tencent's a huge company, but outside of China, it's not as well known.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, that was pre-WeChat, but they already had QQ and all that kind of stuff. Everybody had their IDs. And
yeah, these messaging apps.
Yeah, they're very proud of who had the smaller number and who was on it first. And I think our initial understanding as we dug into it was a company that is interested in doing everything for your social daily life digitally. Mm-hmm. So all those sorts of things. So whether it's basic communications, texting and all that kind of stuff, whether it's gaming, creating your avatar, how you express yourself digitally, all those sorts of things is pretty interesting, because I don't think anybody in the US or Europe were quite approaching the problem in such a holistic way, because there was more divided. Google was doing this and they were doing that, but they seem to want to kind of do everything as a holistic way of expressing your life digitally.
And how did that digital self-expression and interconnected messaging make it into the design?
It made it into the design building on those earlier pieces that I talked about. It made it into the design as again, the building less as a building, but the building as a networking device. So how can you, and that changes what a building is, of course. If the building is a networking device, that means its main point is to get people to communicate. What's the quickest way you can get more people to cross paths? What's the quickest way you can get more ideas then to come out of those crossing of paths? And when we experienced Tencent in their current building, our sense is they were yearning for more of that, because they're constrained by a typical building, and they really wanted to be able to change that paradigm.
How so? What did you see in the current office, how they were constrained?
It was, constrained by, the typical building, which is just a bunch of floor plates, which disconnect you immediately after one floor. Mm-hmm. So you've just lost all of that energy. Mm-hmm. It's a paradigm that's 100 years old. We're still stuck in it, and it's an economic thing. It's like, how much space can we get on a piece of land? But the economics are changing now. So now it's how much interaction can you get that's going to lead to innovation faster than your competitor.
Well, then in one sense, I could see you could just use WeChat, Tencent's own messaging app, to talk to someone 3 floors up rather than actually going up there. But there's also the physical connection in the design with the sky bridges connecting the buildings at various levels.
Yeah, so it's a scalar thing. So there's There's the bridges. Well, there's the building itself, which is expressing communication. So we organize it as two towers that are facing each other, rather than one tower, which was initially expected, and our competitors did. So two towers symbolically are having a conversation, which is important as a starting point. And then all of the stuff that you share in the typical office floor plate is in that zone where you're looking across at one another. So as many people as possible are meeting and looking across one another in that space. So that's the big move. And then having all the social experiences, because you have to go eat. You don't have to, but you probably do during the day.
Probably want to.
Probably want to. The culture in Tencent is about the health of the body. They have a big focus on that. So you're going to go use the gym. You're going to go connect. You're going to go get a juice. They're also really, really big on knowledge and learning. And we experienced that on a day-to-day basis during the design, because our office was stationed on the floor that had all of their Tencent University activities, which were constantly going on all day long. So that's the top piece. So that creates a kind of a ecosystem of connectivity. And then within the basic workplace, the idea was there to make it as big and open and as flexible as possible. So it's a really big floor plate, the South Tower. The North Tower is a little bit smaller. We wanted to give them enough flexibility to change fast, to move people around, to have a lot of people on one floor, to have as many people having the opportunity to cross paths, and then we connect those floors together with smaller stairs. Mm-hmm. So it's a scalar thing.
How much is everything that we've been talking about applicable to other kinds of companies that aren't Tencent, that aren't tech companies?
Ultimately, they're applicable because we're all humans. And I think that's what the paradigm of the high-rise building forgets. The current paradigm is that again, it's an economic model, it's a business model, it's not a people model. And what we learned from the tech companies is that it's all about people. How do we, they're doing such an amazing job of connecting people together more and more, faster and faster in a larger network. And that's a human desire to be connected and to communicate with your fellow man. And I think in modernism, a lot of that kind of went by the wayside. And I think what's now happening, what we're learning from Amazon or Google or Tencent or Alibaba or all these companies that we work with, is this is an important part of our daily life that we've neglected as architects.
The time that you spend in an office, that is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you could take that to a hotel or to
a law firm.
A law firm. You can take it to a residential situation, as was shown yesterday in some of the presentations. So I think it ultimately opens up the door for thinking about the human experience of the daily life first, and maybe that pure economic model second, because it'll transform the pure economic model into a more powerful one in the end of the day.